Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, crypto, Ko-Fi, and Patreon link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Chris Wouters, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Eric Troche, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Cannabear, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. And now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Wow.
That's the one when I caught a glimpse of it, he had like 1,000 viewers live at that moment when he was covering the Lockhart stuff. Oh wait, did I call it right? No, Locke, not Lockhart. Greg Locke and Dean Ogle. Yeah, what's it? 45K and 31K for those videos. Those are good numbers. Those are very good numbers.
Yeah, no, it's a movement. Flat Earth is a movement. And then YouTube, well, that whole bunch, right? What do we call that? Other, whatever, Facebook, TikTok, all that crap.
And he just started becoming big within like this year. Like if you look about a year ago, Witsit didn't have this many views as he used to. So he like doubled within a year the viewership he's getting.
Well, yeah,
because they talk about nonsense.
Long, right? He's only been around a couple, 3 years.
Well, the reason I'm pointing this out is like despite the censorship, he's moving up. He's doing more. He's getting more views than Glowbusters. He's doubling Glowbusters, even though he did Glowbusters yesterday.
He's the most popular flat earther. No doubt about that.
He's a flat earther?
Maybe he is.
First I hear that, Neil. Is he a flat earther? I didn't know that.
Is he a flat earther?
He's one of those guys. Whatever. Yeah, whatever he is. I don't give a shit.
Well, let's not cover that stuff. I'm just covering the viewership. No, we're covering just like the views and how he's doing, and he's doing very well. And he's doing very well in times of censorship.
Hey, I told you this a while ago. He went from detailing cars, Bob brings him in, and now he's got loot. He's always trying to bet you $5,000, right? Because he goes around on all these other platforms, debates with his supersonic speaking ability, and he's got people in a trance. And he talks about the Feast of Nonsense. Talk about the Feast of Nonsense, you're going to get more views.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, but what is the material that he's covering that is being censored?
Ether!
He didn't ask that. He asked
is Ether being censored?
He said, what's being censored?
Yeah, I caught that at the end.
FE. At
least he doesn't cover FE.
Well.
Yeah, but Nathan said before they're going to promote guys speaking about this. That's just what they want. They want them to grow.
Neil, you made a claim as to why he's getting the views. Can you support that claim, Neil?
Yeah, I could support that claim.
Okay.
Go on then.
You're saying the Feast of Nonsense is getting him the views. Go on.
Yeah, he talks about the ether. He talks about all that other stuff, that mystical stuff that everybody loves. We
Can you
talk about
isolate that
reality here.
independent variable for that being the cause? Can you isolate that as an independent variable? And not all the other things that he's doing.
I'm not sciencing what's it. Not sciencing what's it.
Well, I'm not.
Category error.
I'm not necessarily. I'm not necessarily saying science, but you know what I'm saying. Can you isolate that as a claim?
We're trying to put it in a,
No, I meant in the colloquial. I meant in the colloquial. I meant in the
No, you
colloquial
didn't.
sense. Can you
Don't
can you
lie.
isolate that claim?
No, that's not what you said. Don't lie. It does amuse me, but don't lie. That's not what
Obviously,
you
I'm not
meant at
talking
all.
science. You guys don't know. I know about the natural phenomena, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, you do know,
I don't have to
which is why it's so easy for you to now concede that that was a category error, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you guys know what I'm trying to say with that.
Yeah,
Correct.
that was almost as quick as Bev concedes. Yeah, but
well, maybe you guys are not familiar, but on Discord, I always joke like that. I always say, "Can you isolate that the independent variable?"
oh, fair
So
enough.
you guys.
You're saying it's kind of
Yeah.
like an in joke, like
Yeah.
an intentional category error, like QE saying, "Well, what's your scientific evidence for the globe?" He knows it's a category error when he asks a question, but he's doing it intentionally to weed out pretender clowns. You're doing it as a joke. This is what you're saying.
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
let's not
kinda.
get too sidetracked. Neil, you tried to divert it onto me somehow, but if you're suggesting that Whitsit's getting his views simply because of the Feast of Nonsense, how do you back that? I think Righteous is right. You can't.
That's not the only thing.
That's not.
I'm
That's
saying
not.
that's one of the key factors.
Neil.
Look.
That's the key thing he's asking about, though, isn't it? Because that's what you're claiming.
Is that not his topic? I don't follow him. I don't even know what he spoke about last. But I know every time we do something of his, it always goes to ether. So that's my claim. Yeah, you talk about ether, you're going to get the views.
Okay, so it's correlated.
And I was referring to you because you say all the time they're being promoted. They want these people to talk about nonsense, right? Unless I heard you wrong. These are the people that they're going to push. They're not going to hold them back like they hold us back. That's why Glowbusters, Dave Scheiss, just malaria and scurvy, all of them.
Well, you're never going to be able to get anything better data when you're talking about the category we're in. I mean, and it's important. The more you talk about the things that we know to be nonsense, you on YouTube.
You're roboting really bad, John.
And they're going to need a flat plane for that.
Is he roboting or is that me?
I mean, if you're going to describe how much the audience views are up or down, you're going to need a flat plane for that description.
I don't think so, George, but nice try.
Good one, George.
Is that any better, or do I need to reboot this computer?
That's much better. Whatever you've done.
Yeah, I was just saying that correlation is the best you're going to do in the category where Neil was talking about. That's the absolute best you can do. And
Agreed.
It does seem to correlate that those that talk about things we know to be nonsense do better in this topic.
Yeah, and it is merely a correlation.
And as Sleeping Warrior likes to say, is correlation is not causation, right?
No, it isn't.
In this case, it is.
You don't know that. Oh, God, here we go. Round in the same circle.
Okay, Nathan, start talking about. Hold on. I'm going to give you the test. You want to find out? Start talking about ether.
We do talk about ether. We're just very derogatory about it.
No. Speak about it in a positive note. You know, like we're starting to see that this ether is a real thing. You do that for a week, and we'll see.
I don't think it's
That still wouldn't prove
ether
that it was
focused.
false.
I think it's belief. If I was going to correlate it, I wouldn't correlate it specifically with ether. I'd correlate it with belief. That would be the distinction here between what we do and what, if you want to call Witsit them, they do. The difference is we don't go on trust, we don't go on belief, we don't go on inference, we don't go on correlation. We go on what we can prove. That's Righteous's initial point, and I completely agree with him as much as I gave him crap for it. He's right. Now, maybe we can discuss these things in a light-hearted and jovial way, or with handbags at dawn. Either way, we're just speculating. But the main subject, when it gets to the live show, nearly there, Neil. Go on, bloody hell. Go on, Neil. You're desperate to interrupt me. You've done it twice.
Was an accident. I'm driving, so I'm trying to go on.
Oh, right. Well, okay. When we get to the live show, our focus is on what we can prove, what others claim and cannot prove. That's evidence-based, isn't it? Well, that's what we distinguish ourselves with. Now, others around us in the same subject matter will go on belief, what they believe to be true. Ether's a good example. It doesn't mean that promoting ether will get you popular, but going along a belief narrative will. Showing things won't just get you popularity, because often what we're showing to be fact flies in the face of a religion that's very well established in the Western world. Therefore, you can't expect promotion. Censorship's the wrong word. They've got more and more clever ways of promoting that which they want to be favoured above you. Now, that they would say, well, that's not censorship. That's promoting favoured content. That's just a double-speak way of saying censorship. But that's how they would spin it. Well, you're still available, aren't you? People can still find you, can't they, if they look hard enough? We're not censoring you. That would be their argument. Would it not, Neil? Of course, there's going to be 20 seconds of dead air now. Alrighty, well, I'm glad I mulled that over. Thank you for bringing it up, Righteous and Neil.
Can anybody hear me?
No, Neil, there was just dead air. Lots of interruptions during.
All right, I was speaking. If I'm coming in now, just let me know. So anyway, you came in and you set Bob straight, so you became public enemy number one. You're not going to get a lot of views. Witsit was brought in by Bob from Globebusters, who has a popular channel, right? So, of course, everybody's going to start following him. He goes out and about everywhere. So, of course, he's going to have more subscribers. It's just that simple. And what he talks about.
What is the relevance of any of this?
I don't know. It was just being discussed when I joined.
Ask Righteous.
What's that, Neil? You got an interesting conspiracy theory?
You're being asked to contextualize why we're discussing this, Righteous.
Oh, I just started in. Okay, I voice verified somebody yesterday named Shane, and later in the day it was pointed out to me that Shane's part of the Globebuster panel yesterday. So I happened to quickly check in, and I noticed they had about 420 views. Okay, when I just went to click in and scrub the video really quick as I was going live. And then this morning I thought about the show again, and Shane came up again, and then the show came up, and then I decided to check their viewership, see how it was doing after Nodell left. Well, I noticed the viewership dropped, right? Usually about average 10K is now about average 5K. And then I decided to check Witsit, and Witsit's he's got the viewership that Globebusters used to have. So he's doing even better, even though yesterday Witsit seemed like he was leading the show. I didn't see German there. So it's just kind of just looking at the numbers, seeing how people are doing in the Effie community despite the censorship, or what we say is the censorship. And that's how it came about.
Yeah, he filled the void.
Yeah,
He filled the void, right?
Yeah, the Bob void.
Maybe, I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm just
Yeah. There's now a logical explanation, although not validated. You have a whole bunch of people that have been gathered up together to believe in ether. Bob dies. Need to replace that. That's it.
I'm not even sure that's the case. It seems like Witz is doing other things. Like he's doing, like his last video was a debate video. So I'm not sure that's the case either. He just might be doing something different and it's working. So
In that debate
I
video,
don't know.
was he talking about Earth being measured flat? Was he speaking
There
about the
was
things we speak about here? I guarantee he
I haven't
wasn't.
watched it. I just seen the title and it has a PhD in the title. So it looks like maybe it's the people he's going after or so on and so forth. I don't know. But whatever he's doing seems to be working. And it may not be necessarily ether and all the stuff you guys are saying. Right? That stuff does get dropped because he does like the subject. Fair enough, right? But it can't just be that.
Has he exceeded
Yeah.
Bob's numbers yet?
Well, with the Dean Odell and that lock guy, he had a 45K and like a 35K because they were in 2 videos total viewership, and that's pretty good. That's like very good.
Yeah, you're just talking about 2 videos. The popularity of the other person may have been what caused that. Like we're talking about what Witset's doing though. Is Witset's success beyond Bob's yet?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why
They seem
Nathan's not
about the same
successful all
from
of a
like
sudden?
they seem about the same from just a few videos. I checked the more latest videos on both channels.
Then the logical conclusion, it's a fill of a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
And just filling it.
It's just filled up a big fat Bob-shaped hole.
And what are you comparing this to, Righteous? Are you comparing it to Nathan? Because I think Nathan's successful.
Well, I'm comparing it to despite censorship, can we still grow?
I think Nathan is growing every day. Remember, he has a flat
Yeah.
earth debate every day.
Well,
This guy doesn't have shows every day.
well, you may be right. Nathan did have computer woes for about over a year and stuff like that, and then May had brought us down among other things. So let's just see the coming months, you know. But I'm saying if we don't grow within the coming months, then I think we should look at us. Does that make sense?
I think we should look at
I
you.
don't know what the hell you're talking about, Righteous.
Did you say we should look at me?
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
I wouldn't worry. Even when it's been difficult times, like the last year, it's been more than that. But nevertheless, I've still kept a very, very close eye on the stats. And through, hell and high water, I'm going to make sure that they're going up in the right direction. If they don't, I'm going to be doing something about it, even if it's really difficult. So over the last year, yeah, it's been difficult. But does that mean I haven't stayed up till 2 a.m. to make sure that I can have a show the following day when the computer's crashing? Yeah, I've done that for a solid year so that we kept the show going. It would have been so easy to go, the computer's just not working and just not do shows rather than have a year of shows that crash like every other show. But we still did them, didn't we? Yeah? No, I'm not saying what great fortitude has Nathan Oakley got. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's what it takes to keep the ball rolling. Now, the growth hasn't been big in the last year, but it has been growing. Make no mistake. The numbers are all going in the right direction, with the exception of money, which is going down. But that's just life. Sometimes YouTube have changed some of their advertising policies, and it has affected me, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. I'll have to lean on more crowd support, which is to say, hope for more super chats, because it's the only way to counterbalance a lack of ad revenue. But with the exception of money, which is just down to me and how well I can live, the actual channel is going up. Total watch time up. Total views up. Total subscribers up. Always. If it ever goes the other direction, I immediately do something about it. So make no mistake, I would rather have consistent growth at a slow rate than fits and starts and then losing subs in between. I'd rather have consistent growth. Now, you might look at it and go, all right, so this month you've grown by 70 subs. That's not very big. This month you're up from 54,000 views to 62,000 views. That's not a lot. You're like, no, it's not a lot, but it's growth. And if you look at the charts, they're all going up. That's all that matters, as far as I'm concerned. Now, my focus can be more on the show, as opposed to just keeping the show going and growing a little bit. I can look at other avenues. I wasn't up till 2 a.m. doing a computer last night. In fact, I was snug down in bed by about 1 a.m, knowing that I'm going to wake up to a warm house. I've got heating, I've got electricity, and I've got a working computer. This year's going to be a good year. The year of Earth being measured flat has already started off, in spite of a bit of crap, being a good year for the discussion, as far as I am concerned. There is nothing but positive things ahead for us in the discussion over the next year. And there's nothing standing in my personal way. Now, for others, they might have had success, they might have filled voids, taken up audiences that have been neglected. Now, all those things are wonderful for them. And I don't decry them, and I don't look down on them, and I don't look for reasons why that's not me. Because you just go nuts. All you can look at is your own statistics and go, are they going in the right direction or not? If you compare yourself to others and go, look at the massive spurt of growth that Jaron just recently had because of X. Good for him. Great. Me, I'm just steadily growing. Always. And that's the way I want to keep it. If there are extras to that, big bursts of growth, then wonderful. I'll take them, obviously.
And I'm not saying anything negative about these channels growing. Like, I don't wish them any, you know what I mean, any wrong or anything like that. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, for example, Witz just had a kid, so him having the extra growth is very helpful for his family. So, yeah.
Indeed, and more power to
And I'm sure you
anybody
could
in this-
appreciate that too, right, Nathan? I mean, you got a
Exactly.
family and...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
same goes for our enemies in most respects. You know, the people who oppose us subject-wise, if they're a YouTuber, I've got a different hat to praise them with. You know what I mean? Difficult subject to cover, so therefore you have to isolate the subject matter from the arena, in my opinion. Hence, I have 2 hats, a YouTube hat and a Flat Earth hat. When I've got my YouTube hat on, any other YouTuber, it doesn't matter who you are, good on you, mate. If you can beat that algorithm and grow, wonderful. I have to take off the hat that goes, you're eating my lunch, because it's my searches that are going to you. They're searching for me, and they find you. But that's just the way it goes in this subject, as opposed to YouTube. If I accept the narrative that's been put out into the mainstream, their hands have been tied by Congress. They've been told to do that. Promote favoured content. So what do? Moan to YouTube? What are they going to do? Moan to Congress on my behalf? No. As long as there is growth, the subject isn't dying, as far as I'm concerned. There's more people that are interested in it every day.
Active curvature at Neil?
Yeah.
That's it?
Let's get it on.
Good morning.
Yeah, did I get that wrong?
Pretty soon
Yeah,
it's
gonna
just
have
going
to
to be
have a
Neil,
union
because...
meeting.
pretty soon
have
it's
to
just
have a
going to be you,
union
Neil,
meeting.
because...
Maybe you say it 3 more times, Neil.
Because-
Union meeting, union meeting.
I was going to say
Well, if
quickly, it's
Righteous
just
would
going to be
stop
you.
talking through me.
Maybe if Righteous would stop talking through you, repeating the same thing 4 times. Yes, that would be good, Righteous. Do you mind?
Maybe I was going to say something after that.
Maybe. Go ahead, Righteous.
I was just going to point out that John Sullivan said he may be taking a little bit of a break, so in that case, it may just be Neil at one point.
And then if I annoy Neil enough, it might just be me.
Interrupted me for that.
Yes, he did, yes. Go ahead, Neil.
This is ridiculous. Where is the whole panel? Where is the G+ panel? What the hell is going on here? I think Righteous is onto something. What were you saying, Righteous, earlier today? I think we got to
Earlier
look
today.
internal.
No, my sole focus was if you can grow among censorship. That was basically it. Okay. And if you can't grow during censorship, then we know it's possible. And if you know it's possible, well, you know the rest. Simple, right?
Okay, so in the pre-show, for the
What
audience's
about
benefit, we were discussing whether or not Whitsit's rise to fame, according to Neil, is solely because he punts ether and therefore is being promoted up the wazoo. Now, John's response to that was to say no. When Bob Nodell died, there was a giant ether-shaped hole that Whitsit could step straight into, gaining him popularity in the short term. That's it. Now, that's where we've got to so far. Righteous's overarching point was to say, number one, I don't know if this was part of the question, but I'm going to phrase it that way. Are we being censored? And number two, if we are, is there a way to grow faster than we already are? Because this particular channel is already growing, as I made absolutely clear at the end of the pre-show. Just not growing fast, especially with me having lots of things standing in my way over the last year or so. But that aside, Righteous's question is, what could we do to grow more? Or, conversely, are we simply just censored too much? There we go. There's the discussion. Now we're into the live show. It's definitely relevant to the subject of flat Earth. Earth is measured flat, if you're new here. That's how your globe face was made. But we'll carry on with this discussion in the meantime.
I was pertaining to what Righteous said last, when he said maybe we need to look internally. And not having a full panel at the beginning of the show, I know there's no obligation, but does anybody care anymore?
Well, that's
It's all right, Neil. We got Discord. Sorry about that. Go on, John.
I laughed.
Well, that's the thing. The understanding you come to after the excitement wears off. You know, how long can you repeat the factual statements before you kind of get complacent?
Well, I think we should revert back to doing housekeeping on a regular basis, personally.
Me too.
I think housekeeping.
Wait, are you guys
frosty?
Are you guys all looking at me?
Well, you were the one who suggested that it was a bit old in the teeth.
Well, yeah, I said that. I think Chocolate backed it up a little bit, but ultimately, you guys, Nathan, you called the final shot, so I'm behind you.
Well, I didn't make any official
Well,
decisions.
we got a Glober in the chat.
I just gently faded it
sorry.
out to see how it would go. But I missed doing housekeeping. I've got to be honest. I preferred when it was a halfway house, which is to say we did a couple of questions a day, and I varied them each day. That was my favourite. Doing all of the housekeeping questions, I agree, gets tedious. If I limit it to a couple of questions a day, I think that's the best compromise. And then throughout the week, you get the full barrage of housekeeping done, a couple a day. That's my attitude, but obviously, we'll see how this week goes.
Mighty Mush.
Nathan, we have a Globehead in the chat. Maybe he can answer a few housekeeping questions.
By in the chat, do you mean in the VC?
In the VC, that's right.
Who's the globe believer?
Bilu in the bushes.
Bilu in the bushes.
He's pretty active in the main text chat.
Bilu in the bushes
all
is
day.
familiar with us because he must have been here long enough to know who Bilu is.
He's all day, every day in a text chat. So maybe he wants to pipe up a little bit, answer a few housekeeping questions.
What say you, Bilu? Do you want to do a few housekeeping questions? See how you get on? Bilu, are you aware that you're in a voice chat? Shaking my head from side to side. Why do people join the voice chat? Just sit on mute when they're directly addressed.
If this was Whitsit, he'd gotten him to talk by now.
What is it with you and Whitsit today, Neil?
You know, Neil may have a point because we got this guy named Jesse, and he's active in our voice chat, and he's also active in our text chat. And then I remember I seen him on like German, and I'm like, wait, he's active on German and he's not active on here. Anyways, just an observation.
What does that tell you, Righteous? They pick and choose who they're going to speak to. Do you think anybody that's a globe believer wants to speak to Nathan? Contraire.
Oh, clearly not. We're trying to address
He says he's in a library.
Beelu sat in a voice chat, not making any discussions. There we go. Good call, Mush.
He says he's in a library. He can't talk.
Why are you in a
outta
voice chat
here.
then? Just kick him out. It's just waste of space then. Why are you in the voice chat? Voice chat. Does the name not give it away? I'm going to go into a library and then join a voice chat and tell them I can't talk because I'm in a freaking library.
It's the same thing with the guys that seek out David Weiss and Jaron to debate. They pick and choose. Nobody's gonna pick a fight with Mike Tyson in his heyday. Nobody.
Do the hyenas go after the main lion? No, they do not. They go after the weak and sick ones at the back of the pack. That's the ones they go after. Yeah?
That's an even better analogy than mine. I like that one.
Of course. You can spot sickness and weakness a mile away. When these people are like, oh, I'm so wonderful, this very famous YouTuber's decided to pay me attention. Yes, they can take the piss out of you, you're just too stupid to know it. I don't know. I used to get people contacting me, not so much in recent years or in the recent last year, let's say, saying, would you do an interview? Would you come on my show? And I always say no, because you can sniff them out from a mile away. You're not my friend. You're not here to promote me. You're not here to do me any favours whatsoever. You want me to be in front of you so you can take the piss out of me. That's what you want. And all of the examples that have come out in recent years, I'll say Vice, the interview I did, the only one I accepted, because the person who was contacting me and actually did the interview with me and arranged the questions, that person seemed sympathetic, seemed interested. Now, they might have put weird theremin music over the top of me, but other than that, what I said was what I said, and it wasn't massively edited. And I was happy with what I said at the time. Now, I'd go back and change a massive amount of it. But back at the time, I was very happy with what I said, and I was happy with the way it was presented, with the exception of the music. That's because I very, very heavily vetted all of the people who contacted me. Dozens of them. And I said no to them. Even the ones that were referred to me. Mark Sargent referred someone to me, a newspaper. And I had a discussion with them. And the more difficult it is to have those discussions, the more hostile I become. If you're not easy to just get on the phone and have a chat with, then why would I be interested in standing in front of you with a camera for the first time, having never spoken to you before? Why would I do that? Why is it you only want to converse with me via email? Why is that? Yeah? Because I'll hear it in your voice when I talk to you on the phone. I'll know your motivation regardless of what you say. I can smell a liar. It's not that difficult. Others can't. And they've got plenty of crap to take the piss out of.
Well, I think a key thing to your growth would be if you could, do that thing with Eddie Bravo. If you can arrange something like that. He did say he wanted you on, correct? If you could work that out, man.
I'm sure he will eventually. I'm sure at some point when it's convenient for Eddie Bravo, he'll get in touch with me and go, do you want to be on my podcast? And I'll go, of course I do. But in the meantime, yeah, that may happen at some stage. But it's not like I'm going to go to the bank on it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I might do an interview with somebody who likes me at some stage that's a lot more popular than I am. Great, if it happens. In the meantime, you can't let that be your focus. Those are one of the extras that I was talking about in the pre-show when I was saying, as long as I see steady increase in terms of watch time, viewers, that's subscribers, and views, then I'm happy. And if there's extras on top of that, like a big name personality doing an interview with me, then marvelous. I'll take it because it will be extra on top of that. That's what you really want, isn't it? I got a shout out. So I can't remember, one of my subscribers or members left me a message this morning. First thing I do is check messages. Someone said Mark Sargent gave you a shout out. So I'm like, all right, okay. I'll do a quick search and see what I can find from Mark Sargent that's come out recently. And a Taboo Conspiracy video came out where he'd sat and listened to Mark Sargent do a lecture, so to speak. And he filmed it and published it. So shout out to Ben. I gave your video a like, left a few comments. Hopefully it helps you in the algo. Anyway, got to about the 15-minute mark, and Mark Sargent praises, as it's come up in subject today, Whitsitt as being a fantastic debater. And he says, and you might also like Nathan Oakley. He's very much an acquired taste. He's very abusive. But you might like to check him out too. Whitsitt doesn't swear at people. That was his plug for me.
Gee, thanks a lot, Mark.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Well,
First of all, now I renege everything I said about him. I no longer like Mark Sargent.
No, don't
How
be
could
like
he
that.
turn
Don't be
around
like
and
that.
say,
Don't be like that. I've built
wait
up
a
a
second.
but how-
I
reputation.
just
No,
talked
don't do
about.
that.
Stop.
No.
I've built up a
Let me
reputation.
explain.
Let me, before you do, I've built up a reputation, Neil. And that reputation obviously precedes me. Now, the fact that in the last recent years, let's just say, I've had a bit of a change of heart in terms of my attitude, less swearing, less abusive, if you want to call it that. Obviously, any example that were provided by Mark in that particular context, I could defend, or I would like to hope I could defend. Maybe you would say otherwise. The point is that is obviously the reputation that precedes me. I'll have to do some work to alter that perception, won't I, Neil? Can't take it as just blame Mark.
no, I'm talking about, I'm not going to defend what you do, and you have changed a lot. But to say that Whitsitt is an excellent debater, really?
Yeah, in the same way Charles Manson's a great cult leader.
Well, hold on. I'd like to toot Whitsitt's horn for him. Name someone else better that's not within this, within FED.
As far as what? Debating ether or flat earth? Because he's behind the game. He's still proving the globe wrong. So to me, well, that's why Mark Sargent would say that. He's still probably trying to constantly proving the globe wrong. He don't know anything about celestial navigation or the Black Swan, does he? Are people stuck in 2015?
Not everybody's keeping up with the flat earth debate. Mark Sargent proved that by saying Nathan's too abusive. But as far as you've seen outside of our little corner of the internet, who debates this topic the best? If not Whitsitt.
There's a bunch of guys on 24/7 that are pretty good. Miggy.
Whenever I hear Whitsitt debate, what I hear, or what stands out to me, is the long gobbledygook words that he uses. And it reminds me of Charles Manson. If you've ever heard Charles Manson talk, he inserts strings of nonsensical words to sound, just to confuse the audience, to confuse the person he's communicating with. Whitsitt does the same thing.
Isn't that called sophistry?
How about sophistry? It's just a way of communicating. That poem I did was to take the piss out of that very thing, right? The manifestation, sensation of the ether vibration. That is what I'm talking about.
I won't disagree with you there, but as far as people that their videos are we regularly go over, Whitsitt stands above what is considered a mainstream flat earth, head and shoulders above the rest of them.
Were you going somewhere there with that, John?
I just don't think hating on the dude really helps the situation, you know?
Yeah, very much crabs in a bucket.
It's just right. And because there's a bad perception of Nathan from where he used to abuse people because flat earthers were being abused and he was showing a mirror, people have taken that and they're still going with it. But that we're not going to get away from that by abusing Witsit. That's not going to help.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. More power to you, Witsit. But acting like crabs in a bucket, that's not going to help anyone. You know that term, Neil? Crabs in a bucket?
Yes.
If you're unfamiliar, audience-wise, with crabs in a bucket, it's the idea that if you catch crabs and you chuck them all in a bucket, you don't need to put a lid on the bucket. Because if any of the crabs try to escape and climb at the side of the bucket, one of the other crabs will grab it by the leg and pull it back down again. "50 people watching." I accidentally scheduled this as a members stream because I just took the last show I'd done. And yeah, so it didn't get any advertising prior to the show going live, unfortunately. So please share the show if you've only just got here. Very warm welcome to all the 50 people who are here. Should be about double that if I'd advertised it as a public show, but that's my bad. I will get back into the flow of these things. I've had literally a couple of weeks without electricity. You know, a couple of weeks, 10 days. Yeah, we'll bring back the housekeeping questions. I think at least a couple of them a day. I think that's a good way of keeping us subject-wise on track with what's gone on. Because I already feel like I haven't introduced the audience to anything that might have happened in the subject arena over the last couple of days. What I've seen, because I've actually had time to be sat in front of my iPad actually watching a bit of YouTube over the last couple of days, no joke, it's been actually quite nice, been quite relaxed, was a regurgitation of the refraction argument. So again, Taboo Conspiracy has typified this with an address to the general demeanour from our, let's call them globe brethren, who are regurgitating 2016 arguments about refraction where we came up with derogatory statements in regards to the argument and how it was summed up back then with examples like the clock, right? I give that to the audience now. There's a couple of gentlemen staring across a bay at a clock. Flat earther and a glober. Flat earther says, check out that clock. I can almost see the time on it, it's that clear. And the guy next to him, globe believer, says, that's not a clock. Says that's a slightly looming, non-standard refraction, holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified physical geometric sphere edge horizon that is blocking our view of that clock, so it's therefore not there. What you are seeing is a mirage. It's a refracted clock. It's not really a clock. It's not really there. It's a mirage. The clock is behind the Earth curve that we can't see. That is the disclaimer given to a flat earther when a flat earther and a glober look across the bay and just see a clock. Because to a globe believer, it's not just a clock. It's a mirage of a clock from beyond the geometric mathematics that he believes exists but cannot see. So he has to make explanations and disclaimers for why he can see something that shouldn't be there according to his maths, but you simply see with your own eyeballs. Now that scenario leads into flat earthers, in this case, Taboo Conspiracy, addressing that scenario and rebutting it by showing examples where, no, in this example, the light's not as bent as Earth curve would suggest it is to bend it back flat. But they're both claiming refraction. It's like Black Swan. The moment they decry their physical geometric limitation to their view marked with an X and labelled horizon in their maths, it's game over. That's it. Refraction's a concession. In fact, someone said that in Taboo Conspiracy's comments. Quote, refraction is a concession, end quote. True. The Black Swan.
I thought everybody knew that.
Clearly not. I mean, obviously, Taboo Conspiracy is aware of that.
Get a dip angle from a refracted level?
No. No, it's the end of the geometry. Refraction's a concession. The end of the globe. It was true in 2020, even when I didn't realise it, when the penny dropped 6 months later for me. It's taken 4 years, sorry, for the general, what would you call this, pond of people that are around us, globe orbit flat, to start to cotton on to the power of what refraction as a rebuttal actually does to the globe claim. People are just starting to get it 4 years later. Meanwhile, you're going to need a flat Earth for that differential dip calculation.
Well, that's because they weren't keeping up with the flat Earth debate. If they were keeping up with the flat Earth debate, it wouldn't have taken them 4 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Eye level has to be a horizontal plane of reference for you to get an angle to the plane of reference we call sea level to calculate Earth curve. They need a flat Earth more than we do.
They need a flat Earth more than we do. That's the point moving into 2024. Your globe claims start with elevation angle measurements off a flat Earth. A flat Earth that has to be flat. It's a prerequisite. It's a requirement for the measurement. Then you get the measurement. Then you derive your globe. All roads lead to a flat Earth because that's how Earth is. We're not mucking around anymore in 2024. Earth's measured flat. How it is.
But that's why I said you should be thanking this McKeegan guy, because everything he brought was flat Earth proof.
He's got popular in a time where the doublespeak that he has to come out with is so glaring to, or it could be at least subtly there to his audience who are there to affirm their own globe belief. But the contradictions are definitely there, glaring to us. But all we can do is point these things out, right? That is what we do. But he's posted it.
It's odd, though. But
go on.
I was going to say it's odd, though, because when we point out that the emperor has no clothes on, everyone turns to us and asks us, why would they lie? Or tries to, give an explanation for why we can't see his clothes. That's the reality of the world.
That is awesome, John. I am going to steal that immediately. So it's
that was really good.
It was good, wasn't it? Not just why would they lie, shout out to Chocolate saying, but why would they lie about the Emperor's new clothes? Jock, kiss you. That is absolutely beautiful. Did you just come up with that on the spot right now?
Yeah.
That was epic. Great mind. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Why would they lie about him having invisible clothes? Yeah. Why would they lie about the sky vacuum in violation of natural law? Why would they lie about it? Who cares? It stands in direct contradiction of the second law of thermodynamics to have a trip to the moon. But why would they lie about it? I don't know and don't care. Both of the electricians that I had over the last week asked about the moon landing. Neither knew what I did. The first cowboy one was like, you don't believe in the moon landing, do you? I was like, no. The second one started asking about, he phrased it differently. He was like, asking about people who don't believe in the moon landing. So he phrased it differently, but both had the same subject on their mind. And when he asked me, the second electrician, who was doing a much better job, I'll be honest, I just told him about the second law of thermodynamics. Now, that was it. He brought up aliens. That was how he got onto the moon landing with the second electrician, I believe. Talking about aliens. And then it went on to the moon landing. And I was like, no, it's a natural law violation to say that they've made a journey via a sky vacuum, gas-filled space. It's a law of nature. He was more intrigued.
What was his response? What was his response to that?
Went very quiet. The original starting point for that discussion as a whole was about the calendar. And I think it started off with me explaining who Augustine was. Anyway, that was how that discussion unfolded. It was like, I put him off. I want to keep him as an electrician. So he's like, well, what kind of YouTube channel? Usual answer, cosmology. Okay, I'll check you out. I was like, maybe don't do that. Probably hearing it going, what, you're discouraging him? I'm like, yeah. And I gave him a reason. I said, I don't want to ruin your day. That is my general response to people in person.
It would do that.
Hold on a second. Wait a second. What?
Told him I
You
didn't.
don't want to ruin his day? How about make his day, Nathan?
What? Your average normie doesn't want to wake up and realise that a lot of what they've been taught, again, part of the discussion raised by him, not me, is lies. So that's how I phrased it to him. Look, a lot of what we discuss and debate on the show is about the contradictions that we were taught in school. And his response, oh, well, because obviously everything we get taught in school is true. I'm like, well, exactly. No, not everything we get taught in school is true. But we still get taught it, and that is what we debate. And I did ruin his day to a certain subtle extent when I told him you can't have gas pressure without a container. I essentially debunked space. And when I did, he, as I say, went very quiet. But he asked. I didn't proactively tell him. It's unavoidable when someone asks you what you do, isn't it? Say again, John, sorry.
That means you got him to think about it. Now you've set a domino in motion. You can't take that back.
Yes, exactly. And you can't help do that. That's what I was about to say. When someone asks you, what do you do? And they're standing in a fully acoustically treated room, looking at the ceiling going, that is a crazy ceiling. And you go, yeah, it's all acoustic treatment. What's it for? I'm a YouTuber. What's your subject? Cosmology. Tell me about your subject. I don't want to ruin your day. Please fix my radiator. I am freezing cold. That was my answer.
Yeah, but see, I disagree with that. What are you becoming, Bev? You say loud and proud, yeah, cosmology, I'm a flat earther, and we debate the nature of our reality, as opposed to what we were taught in school, that we live on a spinning water ball. Come on, Nathan, get a pair.
No.
Yeah, it'd be a great time to have someone become a flat earther, wouldn't it? Or an anti-flat earther in the middle of fixing his electrical.
Exactly.
Time.
It's a weapon at that point that I'm using against somebody when I don't intend to do that. And when you're talking about average Joe Normie, who may have a reasonable handle on what he thinks is a conspiracy subject, and you can just, take the head off with, no, that's just how Earth's measured. Now, I will do that in people's shows. I shared one with Brian, and he was like, what the hell is this? I'll discuss it when he gets here, if he gets here today. But I sent him a video of calling prank radio stations, I think it's the name of the YouTube channel. And I happened to find my way across this guy several years ago and just laugh. I just thought he was very funny when he was prank calling radio stations, because that's all he does. And he happened to be having a live stream yesterday. I joined the live stream, said hello, and he knew who I was because I've left him a few comments, so presumably he's looked me up. And he was like, oh, you're a flat earther. Why are you a flat earther? And I told him, I was like, because that's how Earth's measured. And the globe beliefs come from those measurements. And his reply was, well, that's not true. Lots of people believe in the globe for lots of different reasons. That was his response. Now, I'm happy to deal with that kind of response. I didn't challenge him. I just wasn't talking about anything interesting. He was talking about Michael Jordan, so I just tuned out because I wasn't interested in what he was on about at that particular moment. But obviously his interaction with me was slightly, if not disagreeable, but combative. And you don't want that when you've got somebody who's helping you out, Neil. Now you're saying, well, no, in your career. Well, no, if you compare it to, say, MMA, as we were talking about Eddie Bravo in the pre-show. Well, if you compare it to a fighter, they've got a skill that can cause somebody damage on the spot. And they have to be very wary of that, wary of potential legal repercussions as a result of their dangerous ability in that instance. Well, I'm not suggesting that mentally I'm going to incapacitate somebody by laying a flat earth slap down on them for no good reason. I'm not going to physically ruin their day or put them in hospital. But mentally, it will ruin their day. And by ruin their day, I mean cause potential pain. 1 in 10 flat earthers I have spoken to has expressed joy as a result of finding this information out. I'm one of them. Chocolate's one of them. There's a few others that go, yeah, found it out. I was like, wow, that is so cool. How amazing. And as my journey has progressed specifically, I go, well, that means I don't know what that is then. That's so cool. I might be the one to find out. How ace. Not a lot of people are like that, though. Most people, even though they recognize that it might be the case that they've been deceived or recognize the simple truth that Earth's measured flat, it still makes them question a lot of other things. It's the conspiracy cats reaction. But that might mean that many of the understood to be true principles in my day-to-day life are now up for scrutiny. It throws the whole thing into disarray. You have to suddenly question everything. That's the reaction of many. And like I say, don't want that when I'm freezing cold and I've been sat in a cold, unheated, unelectrified building for 4 days at that particular time. No, it wasn't. It was about a week at that time. I'd got 2 of them working, but I wanted the one sat next to me working. And that's what he was working on at the time, Neil. You say no. Everyone needs flat smacking.
I got you. So in other words, you guys are going to take a chance on the hell with this flat earth to let him freeze his ass off. I got you.
I don't think as a professional worker he would have done that anyway. If I'd have turned around and told him I was some extreme right-wing whatever, he'd have just carried on with his job and invoiced me at the end of it and gone, I don't like that guy, maybe I won't work for him again. But that might also be the case if you find out someone's a flat earther. People do have that stronger reaction. Like you're a freaking Nazi or something.
So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the chat, but I just got Seafoam to admit that the geometric horizon is the false horizon.
We only have one horizon. The horizon in there begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve mathematics is marked with an X, labelled horizon and geometric in nature. It's claimed to block boats and buildings. If someone suggests, basically concedes, and you're right, that it's not the true horizon, what is it, the second horizon? The one we don't see? Yeah, we know it's not seen. It's not Earth curve. We don't see Earth curve by your concession. Yeah, we know. We've known for some time. It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't have a horizon on a globe.
The old slope-a-dope. Definition of horizontal would be a lack of deviation, whereas the description of curve or slope, or curve specifically, is the rate of change in a slope. You can't have a horizon on a globe because you will always have a curve, defying the very principle of what a horizon is. Shout out to Quantum Eraser with his slope-a-dope. There is exciting
Shout
stuff.
out retracted.
Retracted? Why?
He's been getting on my nerves lately.
Ew, Quantum Eraser.
Yeah.
People's attitude change as spring comes along. I do this every year. I try to keep my head down during winter because people fall out. People get irate real quick during winter. And then spring comes and everyone, kind of comes out of hibernation and the miserable sod that they've been over winter gets dropped and they become a bit more friendly and amiable. In my experience, I mean, I'm not that old, but old enough to know that people get miserable in winter.
Speaking about falling out, how did that 10-hour show go?
Wonderful.
A lot of people stuck around? I was on it the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I shouldn't have done it because the computer was working, but the electricity wasn't. And maybe it would have only damaged the power supply if something had gone wrong. But realistically, looking back on the pictures with all the wires hanging out of the fuse board, probably shouldn't have ran that show. But I really, really wanted to test the computer to see that it was all perfect. And you can't get much more of a testament to stability if it can do a 10-hour show live and recorded and not have a single issue the entire time. I think it dropped 160 frames or something, which is probably just a wonky moment in the internet as opposed to the computer. But yeah, I really wanted to do that, and I'm glad that I did, because now I don't have to think about it again. I just didn't. This morning I didn't even restart the computer to change the sound settings and started the show. I was just like, I don't even feel the need to restart the computer. I'm not going to bother. And here we are, live with 60 people.
Isn't life grand?
I'm feeling very positive moving forward, Neil. I am feeling very positive. This show is not a shakedown show, which that 10-hour live stream was. Proper shakedown, not of the electricity, but of the computer. And now that that's all done and dusted, I'm content sat here, looking forward to the rest of this week. And because I did manage to get in a couple of live shows at the end of last week, albeit with one interrupted because a man was coming to fix a heater, I've got another show to publish. So I've got another show that will go out for Wednesday. This show will go out this week on the second channel on probably Thursday. And then I'll, over the next week, get the schedule back in order so it's as it was, with regular shows going out all week and weekend on either this or the second channel. But like I say, that'll take about a week to get back in order, and then everything's back to normal. Just regular shows, and we can start maybe doing as we left off, if we can keep Righteous on our side, without you annoying him too much. He can take us to other servers that he's familiar with. Instead of getting people join that want to, chat skank and then join the voice chat and not talk because they're in a library. A lot of what we did just before I had major issues was down to Righteous. A little bit was down to Paul, because when Paul was hanging around, he lost his temper with me a bit when I was under a lot of stress because he was asking me to publish to members what was going on with updates, and I kind of ignored him because I had other things on my plate. And then he was like, well, if you don't want my help. And then he left that particular Skype group. So, but anyway, that aside, Paul, for a certain period, was also doing that, which is to say, providing links to various Discord servers that I could just jump in and join. But hopefully Righteous will continue to do that, and we'll spread our wings through other servers, along with other things, but we'll mull those over as time progresses. Although we'd normally do it in housekeeping, has there been anything over the last weekend or week that we've not caught? With the exception of Refraction coming back around for about the 20th time.
A helicopter lands, you see its landing gear begin to vanish into the mirage. This is only one of a few different ways bottom first obstruction occurs on our flat Earth.
I'll do a quick plug for this as we talked about it earlier. That was a little clip from Taboo Conspiracy's video, so check it out. It is a regurgitation of a 2016 premise that has been taken apart at its base by the Black Swan. But as is always the case, and Taboo will testify to this as much as I can, these things are cyclical. They just don't die. They just come back 2 years later. So you end up recovering stuff. I mean, on the upside, for people like myself and Taboo Conspiracy, we've got all the footage all stashed and all ready to go now, haven't we? So we can react really quickly to things like this. Anyway, check it out. Link's going by in the live stream chat now. So this video is called How to Fake the Curvature and Still Get Promoted by YouTube by Taboo Conspiracy. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He's a friendly, he's not a bad guy. But Brian specifically wanted us to cover a particular aspect of this. Let's just go to his timestamp. I picked that bit up, but I'll go to this 14 something. I think it's because Brian actually gets discussed. 14:30. Close enough.
Possible to show why. The problem with all of this is that objects disappearing due to being unresolvable don't disappear from the bottom up like flat earthers claim.
What? I think we've already addressed this in a different video, but nevertheless.
For example, I had Brian's Logic arguing with me a while ago, saying that
I'm not Brian's Logic, Flatzoid, or any other person you have made videos about. Claiming to debunk one person's words does not debunk the entire body of knowledge that is out there. Oftentimes when angular resolution is up for debate, globe proponents along with some flat earth proponents will fail to mention the effects a visible surface has on your perspective. Any visible flaw, such as land and water, Wall or ceiling will compress your visual angles when looking along it, depending on the distance from the surface. When there is no visible surface, such as looking up at the sky, your visual angles remain open.
And all that's true. However, we've got no claim. We've got no horse in this race. Then, their claim, which does not have perspective in it, doesn't have a requirement for us to explain how perspective works. So what do I mean by that? When we detail a claim that we make in a positive way for Flat Earth, we can provide evidence that supports our claim. Sextant on screen now is a prime example of this. We say Earth's measured flat. Here's a tool that measures Earth flat. There you go. There's a pretty simple explanation for our claim in the positive with evidence to back it in the form of a tool that can measure Earth and is used for navigation. Okay. When they, by comparison, make their globe positive claim that Earth has a sphere edge for a horizon, that positive claim comes with a debunk from us that says, no, it isn't. Here's an example. And them saying, no, that's just refraction. Their mitigation for their positive claim. Now, at that point, back in 2016-17, we then move forward to explain why we have an optical resolution limit called the horizon and how things disappear. But we have no positive claim alongside that to need to do that. We don't need to explain why hashtag shit shrinks. We don't need to. I'm not proving Earth's flat by things disappearing smaller into the distance or bottom first against the deck. Oh, I can explain it, as can Taboo. But we don't need to. We are not making a positive claim. It becomes a false dichotomy when we do. Right, cutting edge of flat Earth debate here. So even Ben is not, free from critique, even though he's absolutely one of our most friendly supporters in that regard. Ben's about as good as they get. Doesn't mean he's not open to critique, and I'm sure Ben, knowing him, would thank us for it. It becomes a false dichotomy when we start to move into our advanced knowledge, which we do have, of how the optical resolution limit works, when we don't have a positive claim alongside it to need to do so. Just point out that their claim in orthographic view does not have optical resolution at all. There is no perspective in Earth curve maths. And how do you demonstrate that in the most succinct way to an audience member who may not be appreciative of that? Well, you point out that in the feet and inches value offered up in the Earth curve maths for an item in the distance, it does not change with distance. A 10-foot building is 10 foot at all distances in the Earth curve maths, ignoring angular resolution limitations. That's perspective. Now, at that point, I have debunked their positive claim, pointing out how you form a horizon or why things disappear bottom at first simply puts me in a position to have to defend that in false dichotomy. There is no need. Hello, Adam.
Afternoon, guys. Still working, so sorry about it.
That's okay. That's okay. We're laying down gems here. It's off the back of people like Ben covering these subjects that we haven't covered for quite a number of years as a result of the Black Swan that we can point out how these arguments progress. And we do need people like Ben to go through those arguments in the way that they were formatted back then. That is to say, you claim Earth curve horizon, we claim no perspective, you claim refraction, we show our perspective works. Well, that still leaves you in a position where an audience member can listen to that argument and go, I'm undecided. Is it perspective or is it Earth curve? False dichotomy. Well, to hear that laid out as it was back in 2017 or 2016 is nice to be able to say, now we can move the argument forward rather than reposition it in false dichotomy. So rather than the example I've given, I won't give it a third time. You've just heard it from Taboo. They claim Earth curve. We say, here's an example of a debunking. Let's say it's the Black Swan. They claim refraction. That is a concession. At that point, the argument is over. There's no need to offer a response in false dichotomy for how the horizon is formed. If it's not Earth curve, it's refraction, then it's not Earth curve. Meanwhile, I can then take that horizon and show how Earth is measured flat with it. That would be take it to a new claim that takes an aspect, no pun intended, of their argument, which is the horizon, and utilize it to demonstrate how Earth is proven to be measured flat. Not offer their explanation for the horizon and how it's formed when they say the horizon is Earth curve. We say the horizon is utilized to establish a horizontal plane of reference. Earth is a prerequisite flat plane for the principles employed when doing that to work. Proving Earth is being measured, utilized, and demonstrated as a flat plane. Earth is measured flat. That doesn't mean I explain the perspective of the horizon. Don't need to. It's not my claim. It's theirs that failed, that we debunked. Now we stop. Now we use that same tool, the horizon, to show Earth is flat. Because it is. If you want to get fancy, you can then show how that flat plane that I've just proven, prerequisite requirement for measuring elevation angle measurements, is utilized to give them their globe inference. That is to say, the minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris would give them their equatorial value and radial value for their sphere when measuring a flat plane. Alternatively, you can use their Alberuni R, that's radius derivation, of eye level to surface level. That's flat Earth and parallel eye level, giving you a difference you can infer, gives you a point below surface level called Earth curve, marked with an X and labelled horizon by Alberuni. Later to be described in the same manner in Begging the Question, Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve Mathematics. You can show them how their maths utilised a flat Earth measurement to come to fruition, to come to pass. They needed to measure a flat Earth. Again, doesn't mean I explain how perspective works, in spite of my understanding of it. Shows how Earth's measured. Not perspective and the horizon, which doesn't prove anything. Just proves how art works. If you want to use their form of rebuttal, I'll use it against the false dichotomy that's been created by a flat earther. Nah, it's only useful for art. Doesn't prove Earth's flat though, does it? Meanwhile, a prerequisite to describe perspective, mathematically, will require a flat plane. But it's not in their maths, so who cares? It's their claim, not ours. Our claim is we measure Earth flat with the horizon. That's what it is useful for. It saves lives at sea when doing so. I wish I'd advertised this as public before I started the show. 60 people watching, that's abysmal. Please share the show. Say a few hellos. OBE lines, nice to have you. Eddie Bravo was on MMA Fighter. Is Eddie Bravo on MMA Fighter? I don't know if Eddie Bravo's ever done MMA fighting himself. I know he runs a dojo and very successful at it. What's it called? Ninth Planet or something? As for whether or not he's actually got on the octagon, I don't know. Possibly, I'm sure he's sparred with people.
Yes, he has. You do not teach unless you have competed. So yes, he has.
Shout out to the Price of Adam. Nice to see you. Divergent Droid. Good. It's good to have you. Doing your exceptional moderation job as always. Caprica Soul, nice to see you in there. We got Price of Adam's just shared.
Hey,
Thank you, Adam. Go ahead, John.
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you doing the shout outs, but can you hear me fine now? My meat keeps crashing on me for some reason.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Loud and clear.
Your what keeps crashing?
Meat. M-double-E-T.
Oh, boy.
Not M-E-A-T.
How
Just
is
for
that
information,
happening?
guys, Eddie Bravo is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He's not an MMA fighter. Just for information.
Not right now, he's not. He's a teacher. But he has competed.
He has competed, but in Brazilian jiu-jitsu is what I'm saying. He's not an MMA fighter. He has a lot of MMA friends.
Gotcha. The specific question was, has he competed in MMA? So, yes.
No, he hasn't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
That.
There you go, OBE lines. Check him out, actually. OBE lines is a videographer. He does actually do live streams. Subscribe today. You see him on the list? Somewhere in there. There he is. So tomorrow, we're going to do 2 housekeeping questions. Whether Righteous likes it or not.
I just got a Glober to say that the geometric horizon is not the real horizon.
There's only one
Why don't
horizon.
this guy get on the show?
He's chat skanking. Yeah, if it's not, there's only one horizon though. Duncan.
Not according to Scott Mackey.
No, yes, I realize that.
Didn't they hear that you cannot have a horizon on a globe?
Yeah, we're getting deja vu.
They're not listening.
We've covered this. But fair enough, the guy's in there chat skanking. More power to him.
It's just so easy to get them to contradict themselves within a few sentences.
Why are these people so attached to it? I mean, what leads them to being an anti-flat earther and defending it with double-speak nonsense that contradicts itself? What puts you in that position? What makes a Dave McKeegan or a Simon Dan?
Consensus.
Fear.
I'm going to go with the latter,
Fear.
John. Fear. Yeah, I think so. Conspiracy Cats will always be the perfect description of this when he spoke with Haunted House. There was another guy whose name I can't remember that also basically gave out the same sentiment on an interview where he was all distraught and going, we'd have to question everything. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I agree that it's fear, but they're going with consensus in their mind. This is what they're saying. How could everybody be wrong? All the scientists, all the knowledge we have. So I think it's rooted in consensus.
They constantly appeal to the apologetics of the last man. Just flies in the face of primary source research and how you actually find out these things. You go, well, I understood from my teacher that it's a globe. You say it isn't because of X. So I will scratch the surface only as far as I need to undo what you have claimed at a surface level and then regurgitate that back to you. And if you overcome that, I'll do the same thing again. I'll scratch the surface for the last man to overcome it in whatever poor way fashion that they have sought to do so. And with the case of the Black Swan, it's like your rebuttal to it, Refraction, undoes your own claim, but you don't realise that. And even if I point it out to you, you won't acknowledge it. So it's like, okay, you're trapped in a cult that you are hell-bent on defending. At which point you go, well, who else behaves like that when you're comparing them to cults? Not your average tertiary member. You're talking about the brainwashed principals that go out and brainwash others after indoctrination from someone like Manson or whoever, a cult leader. They're going to have their right-hand men and women that go out and do the same thing. And they are brainwashed. So our comparative debaters in this field, your Simon Dans, your Dave McKeegans, your Professor Dave Explains, are the definition of brainwashed individuals. What a world, eh? 62
When I was 10
watching?
years old.
Say again, sorry?
My parents used to laugh at me when I was 10 years old because I thought wrestling was real. And I used to get very angry at them for questioning the validity of the World Wrestling Federation and laughing at me because I knew it was real. How could it not be real? And then even when I'd see the wrestlers in promos for movies in 5 minutes' time, I refused to put two and two together. So it reminds me of that, to be honest.
Yeah,
Right.
but it goes even deeper. Then when you do find out, you start making excuses for them. Yeah, but they still have to throw each other around like that. It takes a lot of work and technique. So technically, it is real.
Yeah. The people who defend the globe are akin to the people defending wrestling as being real. Or Santa Claus, but Santa Claus is a much more extreme example. I think it flies over the head of most people because most people have been through that. Whereas wrestling, your majority average normie isn't going to fail to appreciate the comparison with the globe when you say, no, at one point, your average 6-year-old does believe that wrestling is real. But when you tell him it isn't, and then you start defending why it is still real when it is not, That's your average globe defender. Your average anti-flat earther.
Nathan, these are 300-pound men that throw each other around, suplex in, figure four in. Doesn't matter that it's choreography, that it's all choreographed. It doesn't mean anything that they're in the actors union. It's real.
And so's John Wick. Many a funeral. Julio. Right, it's been a slow day. You can expect these things when you start going back into the role. Tomorrow I'll
Good morning,
definitely...
Nathan.
Hello. Who's that?
Hi, can I just say something real quick? I do have to go. It's this Stacy. Um, you were saying something earlier, and I just want to remind people, not on here, not these Glovers that you go back and forth like Xanax, Ruhif, blah blah blah. Love them, bless all y'all. But when you're out here talking to people, you're shaking people's foundation. It is the core. It's what people have been taught. So I do try to, as much as it's like freaking annoying, frustrating, when people don't want to listen. Try to have some compassion because they're brainwashed. I'm gonna be honest, I was brainwashed. Okay, and it's gonna take a lot for people to come to that truth. Some of us come up to it faster than others, and just remember that, please, because it took me a minute. It took my best friend, 10 years for me with her. I'm still learning, so I appreciate you all, but just remember, it's people's foundation, and unfortunately, So that's all I want to say, and thank you for your time.
Are you suggesting that I should have more empathy for the general masses because they've been brainwashed?
You know me, Nathan, a little bit. I'm a little bit of that. Let's have a little bit of hope. Let's have a little bit of love because people have kind of lost that, especially in the last 4 years. It's been a different place out here. I'm not saying give sympathy to these people that you're talking to online. They don't actually deserve any. Enough is enough after so many freaking years. I mean, are we going to hit our head against the wall continuously? So yeah, I don't say give any sympathy to those people because you know what you're dealing with. But people out here in the real world, different story. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but Nathan don't even want to shake their foundation. He doesn't want to let them know he's a flat earther because he doesn't want to ruin their day.
No, I don't want to ruin a serviceman who's giving me warmth and his day specifically when he's got a screwdriver in his hand and he's working on a piece of equipment on his belly on the ground. That person's day I don't want to ruin in that specific moment. But the conversation, Neil, what you weren't reading between the lines is, did I have the conversation with him? Did I rock his foundation and tell him that the sky vacuum wasn't real? Yes, I did. I just didn't tell him at the moment he asked because he was on his belly with a screwdriver at that moment. So at that moment, I went, I don't want to ruin your day. Once the module's into my radiator and the cover's on and it's not rattling, then I'll offer you a brew and maybe we'll have a talk about how the sky vacuum's not real. And that is precisely what happened, but without the coffee, he didn't drink coffee.
It's funny how you took him to that one.
I tend to take people... My soft exposure is sky vacuum, not flat earth.
That's true.
It's mine too.
Yeah, I think it's too much, too soon, if you just take people straight to Earth's measured flat. They lie to you in school because that religion keeps people well and truly under control, like every single thing government does ever. That's its purpose. But one of the ways they keep you under control is not by an overt religion like Christianity in the church, but by heliocentrism, a religion from the church. But it's not done in an overt way. It's very surreptitiously forced upon you in school. And the way it came to fruition was by measuring a flat earth and tracking the stars' movements and measuring it on a flat earth and then developing a sphere model from those measurements. But we don't actually stand on a sphere. If you went through that in that way, number one, I wouldn't expect to get to the end of the sentence. Number two, it would ruin the person's day. They go from being on a ball to being on a flat earth if they understood there and then, rather than cognitively brace against it instantly and go to, this person's stupid, this person's a flat earther, not this person's making sense and telling me how it's measured. People don't
Did it ruin your day?
No, it was wonderful. I look back with an extremely fond memory of watching Math Powerland and go, wow, I'm going to wake my wife up. This is awesome. When I shook her up, Earth's flat. That isn't the reaction of most people.
Yeah, but I think once you take him to gas pressure without containment and they're thinking about it and you got them, I'm not saying right then and there when the guy's working on your equipment, but if you follow that up with the Black Swan and celestial navigation, it's locked, game, set, match.
I'm going to disagree in some way. Some people maybe, but when that whole global Light tour happened, when I spoke to someone specifically who was on it, the outcome of that was good. It was brilliant actually. But most people didn't come to the conclusion about the shape of the earth. Those conversations went deeper about what was going on in the corruption of the world. There were a few that stood out in that tour that was quite a lot of mileage that actually had that talk right back and forth and wanted more. And you could see that they're going to go back to finding out and diving into it. And they did. They came online and they talked to some of us on the server. That did happen. But when you're talking about when you look at it as a whole, no, it didn't go there. It's going to take time for those people and seeds planted. Not everybody just goes, oh, okay, you told me a piece of information that kind of sounds logical and I'm going to take it and run with it. A lot of people take it and go, I got to go back to my life now. Talk to you later. You know, screwdriver, I got to work. I'm doing something. So Nathan is right. There's times that you have to use this information and use it correctly because not everybody's in the moment, whether they're working or their daily life, ready for this foundation to again be rocked. Literally.
What was that, John?
Just saying Elijah was in here. Is my voice messing up again?
No, you sound perfect.
Sorry about that. I hit deafen and I was trying to hit mute and then I couldn't unmute. And I was literally going to say, oh, he's ending the show on a good note. I thought you really did. Thanks for that, Nathan, and for letting me talk.
That's fine.
You're not as bad as everyone says you are, Nathan. What's up with that?
People.
Not according to Mark Sargent.
Nathan could be nice. Come on.
I'm just glad I got a shout out from him. He didn't have to mention me at all.
Oh, yeah. You said a quiet taste. What a shout out.
I forgot to upload the Friday show. I need to do that now. All right, super quiet, eh?
Yeah, so the dude that was in the library this morning just spent the whole morning in the main text chat, texting back and forth with some of the guys. So he wasn't there to read books, I guess.
That's telling, isn't it?
Glad he left the VC. That really bugs me.
They want to shout from the peanut gallery. If you have something, you come in and you bring it because you are going to show these people what you're all about. But they have nothing.
In their mind, they may just be afraid of public speaking, and they think they have something.
Why you always do
We're
that,
just not accepting it.
But I can't deny that because most people fear public speaking over death. So you may have a point.
Why join a VC?
That's my question.
I don't know. I can't speak to that.
John, when you were a Glober, Were you just in the voice chats, or were you going on any shows, or were you just chat?
Chat skanking, pretty much. Just chat skank.
Poor Morgile. He must have drove him crazy. What's happened to him anyway? He was coming around, and then he stopped. Has anybody
He still floats by.
seen him?
Yeah, he still does shows. I watched him do a reading, did a book reading recently. He's still around. You're all subscribed to the Morgile, right?
I'm not. I used to. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, didn't he lose his original channel?
No.
I
don't think so.
He still has it?
Yeah, still on the same channel, as far as I'm aware.
Well, then I should still be subscribed.
Well, there's a good chance you'll be unsubscribed by YouTube. They'd have a tendency to do that. Just randomly unsubscribe you from channels that you were subscribed to. Right. So last Friday's show is now scheduled for tomorrow. Not that this will make any sense if you're watching this live, but for us recording this as live, Friday's show will come out tomorrow. It's only an hour long for the Uncut show because it ended up being cut short. I'm glad I started early on Friday.
It wasn't even an Uncut and after show, right?
No, the guy turned up. I was like, I'll start early just in case he turns up unexpectedly early. And he did. But it meant I got a 40-minute live show and there was 10-minute pre-show. So I've just published that. That'll come out tomorrow, like I say, for the public.
I think now that you got your computer sorted, I think we need to make a little appearance somewhere. You know?
Well, try and keep Righteous on side because he's my ticket to doing that sort of stuff. He knows how to do all that. I don't have to do any of that. Every single trip I made last time I got out and about was down to Righteous and Paul.
Let's go, Righteous. Get busy.
Not even here. He went away because he was so upset with you.
He'll hear it when he listens to the Uncut after show.
You want to talk to Righteous, Nathan? I'll get him down, dude.
No, we don't. We'd rather talk about him when he's not here. That's the politest way to do it.
Exactly. No, but you can freely just join any server, right? You can go to 24/7 or Earth Awakenings.
I'm just too dumb to do it. I need a Righteous.
Oh, you're not. Things. Stop it.
I'm not. Stop it. You think I'm joking? I'm not. You actually think I'm being sarcastic.
You don't know how to join a server. Are you serious?
Yeah,
I know you're joking.
There was an excellent conversation going on. I just came from there, actually. I was listening in. It's hard for me to talk now because I'm also working.
So let's go crash that. What show was that?
So you talk now? Why? What? You having a poo? What are you doing?
Politics, sir.
Whispering in some very echoey room. Eli, what's going on?
Say again?
Are you in a hostage situation? What's going on?
No, that's like I said. I can't really talk, but politics server.
Give us a signal if you're okay. 2 clicks. Do we need to contact the authorities on your behalf, Eli? The situation has definitely escalated.
Yeah, he can't talk. I know what he's doing. D Rose, man, that new job is really taking him away. You don't even see him no more.
He does pop by. He normally comes by right after the trail end of the after show. Sometimes he'll pop by. Just often doesn't make it onto the recordings anymore, but he does come by the server. I've spoken to D-Rose in the last few days.
I was talking to him on the phone, and he was saying that they got him like, you can't do anything. You can't even lift up the phone.
He's one of those guys that manages to stay in touch, though. I like D-Rose.
So do I.
Daryl.
Big words, that he?
Say again, John?
He's got a lot of big words he uses.
Yeah, I think he likes to expand his vocabulary, doesn't he? So he finds out. That reminds me of me. I hear a new word and go, what's that mean? Well, I like that. I'll incorporate that. He does the same thing.
Irregardless.
What a word.
Well, that's what I remember him saying. Irregardless. Is that a word?
Irrespective or regardless. Irregardless is a double negative.
Yes, you explained it the last time.
I've clearly got a bit up my comparing game, haven't I? Who's Black Goku? Is that a new name in the server? Great name.
Yeah, he's a flat earther.
No,
He's
I've
from
been here.
Bulgaria. Oh.
Been here for some time.
My bad. I've obviously
That's
not been
okay.
paying close enough attention. Well, we might end up rounding out the 2-hour mark today then. If this is going to be a really slow show, I'll have to up my compare game.
Where is everybody? Where's Brian?
I don't know where Brian is. I'm sure he'll show up. I'm just glad it's nice and laid back. You know what I mean? When you've had a hell of a year of mucking around with stuff. This is literally the first day I've sat and thought, no, there's nothing to particularly worry about. There's a few little electrical niggles that need sorting out. They're going to test stuff. That's it. Other than that, there's nothing to get in the way of the show now. I would like to do more response videos. I have to dig some more out for tomorrow.
According to some people, if you do response videos, then you lose yourself.
Lose yourself? What do you mean?
Yeah, you become where you lose your whole identity if you go down that path and you start doing response videos.
Why?
That's what I heard.
That's an odd claim to make. Like, what evidence for it was there?
Come again?
I mean, that's an odd claim to make, that by watching videos and responding to them, you lose your identity. That's an interesting claim. What evidence for it?
You have to ask the guy who said it. Anyway, but didn't we start doing these response videos because they were not coming to us? So we're going to go to them.
Yeah. They're in the library, so we'll have to go to them.
Is that Elijah then kind of hinting at they were having a really good conversation over at 24/7 politics, I guess, and I think it's because Shane's over there and whatnot, that maybe to go over there and go to them, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm up for that, but just not on the fly. As in, if someone lets them
Right.
know, we'll do the show from 24/7 tomorrow. I'm happy to do that. But as for just dropping by because someone else is having a good discussion there on the fly, right at the end of the after show, nah. But tomorrow, in the morning, if someone happens to mention it to Righteous, I'll say, look, do you fancy going over to 24/7 today? We're all up for that.
So you would think you would kind of be gross to take your entire show to a server and maybe start asserting that level is just a single point on a vertical datum. That's kind of gross to do that, to disrupt someone else's show. That is, wouldn't you think?
Well, like Bev does.
Yeah, organizing a group of people to show up and just disrupt the flow of conversation.
I don't think that they would look at it like that. I think they would almost encourage it because it brings in more people in a conversation about it. You guys agree on a lot of it over there. I think that it would bring that instead. I do understand what you're saying on that. If it was a different server, maybe. But yeah, you can always talk to him about it too. I think that's also why Nathan just doesn't want to go on the fly. You know, he wants to figure it out to make sure that it is like respectful as well. I don't think it would be an issue if you just showed up though, Nathan. It's not like that over there or with them.
I agree, but I'd rather start as we mean to go on, which is say, oh right, there's a good argument going over on 24/7. Let's go, and put our 2 penny in there. But if tomorrow, you know, they're aware that we'll potentially be running a live show from that server, they can then, you know, have some preparation in their own mind, not necessarily do anything, but just know that that's going to occur. Whereas if you're in the middle of a discussion, yeah, I know they also go out and broadcast, but it's not the same, is it?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to highlight. When you're bringing a group with you, it's best that you announce yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm happy to do that. Let's go 24/7 tomorrow. And I'm up for that.
I noticed something about this.
Go on.
I noticed something about this topic. It turns people really rude for no reason sometimes.
Yeah, and then when you, as you put it earlier, hold up a mirror to that, you get accused of being the one who's abusive, because that is the surface level perception of what happens.
Right, the drag you down to their level kind of thing, and then when they get you down there, then you know you're no better than they are. It's a tactic, I guess, but it's a shame.
That's okay. Not that difficult to rise above once you've identified the trap you've fallen into.
Yeah, I just don't understand how people didn't see that as a reflection of how people were being treated within the community. Instead, they thought that you were somehow caused. I don't know. It was just weird to hear it.
Because it's a cursory glance perception of what goes on here when I'm winning and taking someone to the task on their general demeanour and behaviour towards us by just doing it straight back to them. Most people go, well, that's just you being nasty, if you come at it from a cursory glance. Fair enough. You have to take that into consideration also, and I hadn't. But I've had enough people...
Check out Master B. I put
Go
on. 2 short clips there. I'm not sure if you reviewed them already. Just check it out, man. It's a practical navigator.
They show on the airplane
it's about the great
shows a
circle.
curved line. Why would that be the case? Well, it turns out that if you are living on a spherical Earth, which we are, then the straightest distance between any 2 points over a far path is what's known
straightest distance? What?
As a great circle. So we've got two positions here on this Earth, this spherical Earth, and they happen to be at the same latitude. It doesn't matter what your latitude is, but it's good.
Matters because you'll be measuring that principle off a flat plane with an angle measurement to Polaris. So what you're describing is areas of equal elevation, segmented on top of a sphere, described as great circles.
Good to illustrate. So let's measure the distance in a straight line along that line of latitude.
It's not a straight line on your sphere. Why does he keep using this bastardized language?
And I get about 21 units. It's inches in this case, but it could be anything, it doesn't matter. 21, all right? And then if we trace the curved path, you're gonna get a different value. In this case, I get around 20 units. So I saved about 1 out of 20 units in that case. The map that they show on the airplane shows a curved line. Why would that be the case?
Because it's a transverse Mercator projection with a square grid taken from areas of equal elevation with angle measurements to Polaris that you described as latitude. That's why.
Well, it turns out that if you are living on a spherical Earth...
No, you're not living on a spherical Earth. It's because the transverse Mercator projection coming from a globe has been taken from a cylinder that came from a circle of equal elevation measurement to Polaris called latitude. So that process goes from flat Earth elevation angle measurement to spherical grid to tube to flat map. Transverse Mercator. Nothing to do with living on a sphere and everything to do with the transposition from flat angle measurements to a sphere and the problems that causes mathematically when a straight line gets described as a curved line. Now you say that the errors come from what, great circle routes and you cutting across them on a sphere? No, just travelling in a straight line on a flat Earth.
Which we are, then the straightest...
No, we're not. We're not standing or living on a sphere. Your ideas of living on a sphere came from flat Earth measurements, including your description of latitude. How much more of this clip is that it? We've covered 12 seconds, right? That's all of it, I think. Yeah, it's gone around in a full circle. Let's see the other one.
Is if you kind of turn the world in a different way and line it up so you're looking at one departure point, trace that point to its finish point, and you can kind of see why the Great Circle is the quickest route over a spherical Earth. Is if you kind of turn the world in a different way.
Yeah, whatever. These concepts are flat Earth concepts. Good clips. Thank you.
Hey, welcome, bro. Straight line is a circle, I guess, right? And vice versa.
Yeah, it's a nonsensical double-speak garbage response to presumably comments he's been having directed at him from us, right? That's the practical navigator. He's been barraged with flat Earth proof comments as a result of us covering him. And as a result of those response comments, he's come out with videos like this. So I'd assume that's recent, right?
No,
Did
I actually don't think this one is recent.
On a great circle?
Yeah, he didn't measure a chord. No, you can't on his bouncy ball. You can't get a chord.
Right, but in his great circle route, he measured an arc length and then used a chord and then compared the two. Is that what he did?
No, it just both lines were over the top of the spherical surface. Just one was around, increasing the edge of the line to claim that that was a latitude line. Because when you've got a latitude grid in circle terms transposed on top of a spherical surface, you just get these lines that go round the sphere, getting bigger as they go down the sphere. But if you try and draw around one of those lines, it becomes an increased distance versus just drawing straight across the ball. Well, that's what he's done. He hasn't drawn a chord. He hasn't gone through the ball. It was a bouncy ball. In Master B, if you want to have a look.
Usually when they...
Because you couldn't see it in this hangout, but if you want to have a look, it's this part 2 clip in Master B. It's only 16 seconds if you want to see exactly what he's showing. But the chord line is what it would be if it was more accurately describing how the process would be done across the ground, which is to say that if you've got a circle of equal elevation and you cut across the circle, providing it's a two-dimensional circle, you're going to have a shorter straight line distance between those 2 points than if you carry around the outside circumference of the area of equal elevation. Well, in his diagram, or his depiction with the bouncy ball, he's showing the process of traversing the outside edge of an area of equal elevation versus traveling along it in the direction of his bouncy ball. Now, for reality, that distance would be shortened because it's an area across a flat surface, which is precisely what you get. So you get a shortened distance. Again, this is just apologetics for why the ball doesn't quite work, why you get these shortened travel distances. This will all be covered in Time Bandits when it finally becomes a presentation. And we all can't wait. So is there anything else on the table other than me getting a taboo conspiracy
There's no
/ Mark Sergeant right at the middle when I just start talking?
Sorry.
10 seconds of dead air
There's no
before that.
guarantee you
Literally
don't
10
get that.
seconds of dead air before that interruption.
Sorry about that. I'm babies. I was trying to say, where did he get the straight line originally on his globe?
He doesn't. That's where we started. He doesn't get one ever. He kept saying the straightest distance on this sphere. And you're like, what straight distance? What are you talking about? There isn't one ever. I think that was the whole point of the clips, actually. Is that right, Mighty Mush? Is that why you put those clips in, for that very specific reason?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Straight on it with the circle. Straight or circle is the same thing, huh?
Yeah, to this double-speaking funder, yeah. Because he's got a globe belief
Yeah,
he
but
needs to defend.
how many times did we hear from the Globers, if you walk in a straight line, you come from behind your back, right?
Yeah, you can take that to the nth extreme and say Rumpus claimed that you could see your own ass in a telescope if you've got a strong enough telescope.
I didn't get any straight lines on the globe.
You just call it a great circle.
Well,
That's how.
The furthest distance from you on a sphere is technically right behind you.
Wait. Come back with that?
Yeah, the circumference. It's the greatest distance on a sphere. So that would be right behind you.
What's the story with Time Bandits anyway? Are we ever going to get it? Or is it just held up there like a carrot to a rabbit?
I'm sure we'll get it eventually. What's the rush? What's the rush?
Just anticipation.
The thing
Because
is,
I think it's going to be another backbreaker.
It's not a backbreaker. The thing is, there's a lot of, what's the word? Problems with a globe when it comes to the Southern Hemisphere. Now, just think about that for a second. If there's problems with the globe, Neil, where did the globe come from?
Flat Earth measurements.
Right.
From Palada.
Right. So what happens when you go past the equator?
When you go past the equator?
Yeah.
I don't know what happens.
You get an inability to develop a latitude system. But there is one that exists that's wrapped around a globe. with lots of distortions. It was one of the very first things I covered with Martin Liedtke. The differences that you get when you travel in the southern hemisphere are massive. There's huge inaccuracies. Well, as Adam's progressing along his journey of discovery, let's call it, he's finding that that is the main stumbling block for discovery and charting the world that we know. That's the main limitation. Therefore, it doesn't matter that we've got a blag that there's a globe that's perfectly accurate. It isn't, but there's no system, flat Earth or otherwise, to accurately chart that area. So you end up with a lot of inaccuracies. Well, that could be seen as a globe problem, but if all roads lead to a flat Earth, you simultaneously realise, well, that's just a problem for mapping the territory. It's not a specific flat Earth problem, it's just a problem, isn't it? But if you're going to try and use that and incorporate that into a example of how the world functions flat, it's going to still be flat, but you're actually into the territory of this might actually have a solution with a problem that could be devised from our side of the camp, or not because we're flat earthers, just because we're intrigued to solve the problem. Do you see what I mean? Solving why the sky is blue isn't necessarily going to yield any positive life-assuring results for anybody. It might expand their knowledge, but it doesn't necessarily help them. Understanding how the southern territories could potentially be more usefully mapped might actually expand the territories. Now, it might be that this point in the discussion is the very reason that the suppression is required, because that's what most of the control does. Keeps you wrapped up on a limited amount of area. And an understanding of how the southern systems work to potentially go beyond that as that which has already been discovered might, as I say, to repeat it, be the very reason that there are measures in place to stop us from investigating this subject. Up until now, in our recent history, we discovered more and more territories, more and more land, more and more worlds. Then that stopped with the globe, didn't it? Time bandits could kick all that back into gear. Time bandits could kick all that back into gear, Neil. There's quite severe implications and potential repercussions for what Adam's currently doing. It's not to be taken lightly, in my humble opinion.
Well, there's also the possibility that the celestial sphere is the best we can do. And the system we have in place is just the only way we can navigate our known world because of how the stars operate.
Yeah. In other words, the globe is the best advancement of understanding in terms of navigation that we have managed based on the measurement of flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. The evolution of that in terms of mapping and charting and navigating leads you to a globe, and that's where we are at. That's as good as we can do. Now, given that the people who want to control the world in the most literal sense are the arbiters of the maps and models and the religion of heliocentrism, you can see where the buck stopped, can't you? Well, the buck stops with the people who want to keep you under control. Therefore, what does that make us if we try and expand and break free of that control? Makes us dangerous suddenly, doesn't it? I don't want to be dangerous.
So back to back breaking.
What do you mean back breaking?
I didn't say globe. I said celestial sphere.
Yeah, but I followed the
putting globe
subject
in there?
through to the natural conclusion and control structure that we're now under. It all starts from flat Earth measurements and the derivation into a perspective view of the celestial sphere that then turns into a globe, and that is where we're at currently. That's what the Western world, the most advanced technological people to exist ever, have come up with. That's the best we can do. Well, when you break it down like that, the globe becomes quite embarrassing. Is this as good as we can do?
Well, the globe is actually a step back.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
But the celestial sphere might be the best we can do as far as mapping. because we are limited by the stars and magnetism. I mean, not to be negative, maybe, you know, Adam's taken on a huge task. And I don't want to, you know, say he can't do it, but that is a real possibility. That's why it's taking so long.
I have full faith in the Adamican.
I've seen another flat earther try to create a working map of the entire world. And I think his name was Squirrely or something. This has been a long time ago. I was a Glober at the time. And I think he ended up turning back to the globe because he couldn't get the pieces to fit right in his mind. So he just surrendered back to ignorance.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen to the Adamican.
I'm just saying it's one of those
I
few
don't
things
either.
that if you launch into the subject and get it wrong, it could put a massive dampener from a personal perspective where there wasn't needed one, and there could have been nice progress. You know what I mean? So I'd rather Adam took his time.
Absolutely. If it takes him 5 years, it's 5 years that's not wasted.
Exactly. Someone like Life is
5
Short.
years?
When, as much as we're now, or today, I was quite critical of putting the perspective understanding into false dichotomy. A bit like your relinquishment of the black swan because you know Earth's measured flat. It doesn't decry the useful nature of the knowledge that you've acquired from the black swan and everything leading up to it, or in this case, learning how perspective works from Life is Short. He spent the better part of a year learning it and documenting it and researching it and putting it into a report, if you will, that could be laid out in front of anybody with them understanding what was in the report about perspective and how it functioned. Well, his explanations are faultless. You wouldn't be able to find any flaw in his research. But he didn't just go through it, and I'm not going to knock 10th Man for this because this isn't the point. It's just a comparison. But when 10th Man's going through it in the pre-show, going, this is what I found today, and I'm moving forward to find out more. Here's what else I found. That was for our benefit and for the limited audience who watched the pre-shows at the time. A few more people do watch now. We have been growing. But back then, it was a limited amount of people that got privy to the understanding that 10th Man was laying out as he learnt it. Well, Life is Short didn't do that. He was watching all the shows, doing all his research, compiling his data, and when he was done, he presented it. It took about 6 hours to go through it all. But it was a huge undertaking to get that information together. You know, like, it was well worth it. My knowledge is exemplary because of Life is Short. No other reason. That was down to all of his exceptionally good research, not leaving any undotted I's and uncrossed T's when he laid it out for us. Well, I want this next step in that sort of thing to be that quality. Either so you can disregard it as false dichotomy, but when someone tries to hold you to task on perspective because they're using it for their globe argument when they shouldn't be, you do need to know how it works and be able to undo their argument from a good and solid understanding of perspective. You just need to know where the line's drawn. Don't use it as an argument for a flat earth because it isn't one. You don't need to explain how this perspective effect works for their positive claim of the horizon. But you do need to understand how it works. Hence, you're going to get nothing but praise if you're someone like Life is Short. We don't want to be that guy that does the time bandits explanation, misses a detail, and then that is the only focus that will ever get repeated.
So are you saying that if 10th Man was to lay it all out in one 10-hour show instead of leaking it out, you would have gotten it all? Because I think celestial navigation might be a little bit different. Maybe it had to be leaked out the way it was leaked out.
It's different strokes for different folks. We were privileged to go through the research with 10th Man alongside him as he did it and be privy to the information as he learned it. Now, that's a different set of circumstances. That's you've got to be quite friendly with somebody to be able to do that with them and let them, and the reason they're doing it in the case of 10th Man is so that you can not plagiarize, but regurgitate their information to a wider audience. Not even on his behalf, just taking ownership of the information there and then. Well, that takes a lot of selflessness on the part of 10th Man. And life is short. I was about to say righteous force. Life is short. Same principle, but it's just a different way of doing it. I'm saying that in this instance, Adam hasn't... We've already been filled in on the parts we do know from this subject by Adam as we've gone through them. It's not like he hasn't done the same thing as 10th. But when it comes to just combining all that together as a presentation, he's not going to go through the whys and wherefores of every little niggle of detail while he's overcoming them in his presentation, because that might be to the detriment of the presentation, right? It's not going to be that way with celestial navigation. It is what it is. It's well documented. Finding out how they've tried to, after the fact, smear in a bit of heliocentric bullshit on the top of the flat Earth measurements is what 10th Man was going through as he was finding them out. But we already knew those anyway because they were coming to us as our opponents researched them, as we explained, or 10th Man, moreover, explained the flat Earth proof that was celestial navigation, or is celestial navigation.
But what Adam's taken on is an advancement in knowledge, that there's only raw data. There's no authoritative source that he can pull from. It's different.
Yeah, that's what I was driving at.
Expand knowledge, not...
Exactly, that's the draw I was driving at. I was saying the authoritative source that you can draw from is the globe. That's the advancement from the celestial sphere. That's kind of what I was driving at, John. And you're like, well, they're going backwards. Yeah, but that's where Adam finds himself in open waters, new territory, that's only on the map as being discovered, but isn't really there. So it's like, got to be cautious in these waters, haven't you?
Yeah, that's why I said if it takes 5 years, then it's, it's not wasted. It's not a wasted 5 years if he figures it out, But then there's the possibility that it's just the majesty of the heavens that can't be figured out, which I would worry for Adam's health in that situation.
Alternatively, Adam's just got a lot on. He's a bit busy at the minute.
I keep hearing my name.
And I'm not
from the back of the dispensary. Sorry.
We're not calling to action here.
No, we're trying to.
All rhetorical, Adam. There's no need for you to answer. I'm sorry, you didn't have to run across your shop.
Yeah, I was just trying to say the magnitude of what you've taken on with the time bandits thing, and why it would take so long, because it's not a simple subject to tackle.
No, it's getting more and more complicated. It's the lack of a grid system with a grid system, and the only grid system you've got, is wrong because it's based on a globe, even though it's a flat Mercator. So it's this overlaying of global stuff that then compounded with declination, other bits and bobs, confusion as to what a compass or a gyro compass does. All these things of how you put them together, or how, more importantly, how they've been put together to create the ball. And that in itself is a thing of beauty that you can start to see. But then to unpick that to then give you a correct grid system, which is unverifiable because the only maps and grid systems we got are based on a ball, is kind of the backworking. Where I'm at is just trying to calculate the exact backworkings first. It's not what it should look like or what it could look like, just trying to identify the points of change that they've put in.
I will say to you what God said to Job. Where were you when I measured the breadth of the earth? Where were you when I took its measure? So don't feel bad if it never comes.
Well, it's a big task. I don't know, but it's fun finding it out. That's the thing, and you never know. So what, it just sends you around different ways. We did all that formula stuff I did on the presentation today. And because of that, Brian's had a few ideas, and I've spent this week kind of redone the formula, but to express it in, because we're just trying to get into this kind of mindset now, me and Brian, everything is trying to express things in nautical miles and minutes and seconds, and just see if we can get any coincidence by using those numbers. Because again, why have we got land miles?
That's not rhetorical.
I
If you're
thought that
listening,
was
comment below. Right? What's the purpose of transposition from nautical to statute? Why?
Because nautical miles are taking an arc into the sky into account and transposing that to a flat plane, whereas regular miles are just a straight horizontal distance.
Yeah, but why can't that straight horizontal distance be exactly 1 nautical mile? Why does it have to be slightly different for some obscure reason? I don't know.
Because you're tracing an arc in the sky and correlating it to a straight line on the ground, it'll always be greater.
No. Nautical mile and a land mile are different lengths. Whether you express them via stars as an arc minute, or whether you express them as a rod length on the ground, a nautical mile is still different length to a statute mile.
60 and 69, is it not?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but the 60 is based on 360 degrees of a circle.
Yes.
Equal altitude.
But Adam's point is, why can't that be a land mile? There's no reason why it can't be. Why have two distances?
69 miles to Stoke from here, it'd be 60 miles. And there would only be miles. It wouldn't need to say statute miles. It wouldn't need to say land miles. It'd just be miles, because there's only 1 mile, which is based on 1 arc minute.
Which, given that the system is based on that, that's what you'd expect it to be. Right, Adam? That's what the grid is. So why wouldn't it be that? It makes no sense.
Arc. I just said it's an arc, not a straight line.
An arc minute.
Right. It's an arc, not a straight line.
But that's non sequitur. That's non sequitur to why it would have a different value, though.
Yeah, but again, the arc minute is 160. A minute is 60 seconds, and an hour is 60 minutes. It's all based on the clock, basically. 360 degrees.
Yeah, a nautical mile is.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's the system we should use then, right? Therefore, a mile should be a nautical mile. And there shouldn't be any other mile. Should there?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
No. Oh, no, you're talking about an arc distance and how it relates to a straight line on the ground.
One
it's not an actual
in the sky is equivalent to 1 nautical mile on the ground.
Are you saying it varies because of the arc conversion suddenly it would change out at distance, because it doesn't, does it?
No, it's the same. One
Right.
nautical mile is one nautical mile. But it's
Hold on, I'm asking John. So what's your objection? Hold on, Adam. What are you saying? There's a conversion required to make it ground-based? Because the conversion's already done. The mathematics already gives you 60.
$60 nautical miles.
Yeah, for one degree.
That's not how you measure a horizontal distance.
But when you do measure the horizontal distance, why couldn't you directly relate it to that conversion that gives you 1 in 60? Why couldn't you make the conversion for the land mile the same? Why change it? I still don't understand.
Because the stars don't work that way.
You broke up. Say again. Know what he said? What did he say?
Because the stars don't obey us. Our geometry, they don't do the same thing.
No, I think you're missing my point. So when we look at the stars, we've got the divisions where 1 nautical mile is equal to 1 minute of arc, yeah? So on the ground, that 1 minute is equal to 1 nautical mile, or 6,076 feet, right? Rods put together, 6,000 of them. Why is it that and not, why do we then, that's a mile, a nautical mile, but we don't use that on land. We only put 5,200 odd together and call that a statute mile. Why? What relevance does the 5,200 rods on land have? Where is it commensurate with another reference system like we have with a nautical mile, which is a land-based distance or sea-based, but it's surface-based equivalent, and has a comparison in the skies with regards to arc minutes? Why would we move when we've got a 1-to-1 conversion of arc minute to nautical mile to a statute mile, which therefore means those simple conversions of the skies to distance, the stars to distance, has now destroyed. It's gone. There is no 1-to-1 ratio. That's what I'm questioning. Why we would adopt a secondary mile, which means that you lose the 1-to-1 relationship.
There you go. That's the question. On?
Then don't.
But they do.
Then don't. But don't.
What do you mean they don't?
If you're saying there's no reason to, then don't.
I don't have to, but they do. It's there, isn't it? That if you're in America, your speed limit is so many statute miles an hour. It's not nautical miles per hour, is it? The unit is a statute mile, which is not commensurate with the heavens. What a nautical mile is, keeps that relationship.
Right. Then if you're building a map or trying to understand it, don't use statute miles. Convert everything to nautical miles, and then there's no confusion, right?
Well, that's as simple as that, Adam. Just don't use it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, don't do it.
Just don't do it. Problem solved. Thanks, John. He's not rising to us being facetious, Adam.
I thought he was going to tell me that there is a... I've looked for this derivation as to where it comes from. You can look at the pyramid, but a statute mile is just very odd. And like I said, I don't grasp at what point. We've always had the nautical. So why do you make that secondary division? I know you've got furlongs and all that broken units, but You've got to break the mile down. You've got to break the degree down first. Unwanted.
Yeah. If one's derived from the other, why have the derivation at all?
It don't sound like they are. It sounds like one's land-based and one's sky-based, and they're close enough that they can call them the same thing, but they're in no way related. So yeah, I wouldn't even try to figure that out. I would just use nautical miles.
When you say you mean when Adam's doing his time bandit stuff?
Yeah, you only lead to confusion the more variables you enter in. If you stick with nautical miles and you don't change, a variable, then it's less confusing. Like you wouldn't want to calibrate an instrument in both meters and feet. You know what I mean? Because you're just begging for an accident.
Right. You might have them both on the scale after you've figured out which one you're going to use primarily.
But
hey, John.
Looking at the celestial sphere there that just passed by, and the way it's been constructed, it's hard not to sit in awe of it. You know what I mean? The sky, not the model, the sky itself is amazing.
Yeah, completely agree. And Adam's not about, because it was him that sort of pointed that out the first time to me, the majesty of the heavens in that regard. It is pretty amazing.
Yeah, if you're shortly after the Black Swan, there was a guy in Discord who was trying to use a geometric horizon to explain the sky, and he was using it as a rubber ruler. He kept changing, all of his measurements because he was refracting the horizon. But he never noticed that he was doing it. He just wanted to keep the celestial sphere, but the globe further around it,
Yeah. This is what Brian was pointing out in terms of how important it is that it's not refracted, because
Did my meat just crash again?
No, just everyone's gone quiet. Might round out shortly. It's been a very slow day.
Well, everybody finally got here.
No round it out.
I will. It's so slow, I'm going to round out. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hope you're smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
fucking day!